Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. I feel like I've been recording all week, and it's only Wednesday, and it was a short week since we celebrated the 4th of July. With me today, I have Dan Watkins. I'm so excited to have you, another Northeasterner CBD cannabinoid professional working in the space every day of his life. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dan, so you can properly introduce yourself and give our listeners and our viewers, since we stream on both types of audio and visual, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, Christina. Good to see you again. About myself, I am, how do I do that normally? 25-year international banker, compliance, markets, trade, all kind of came around back towards food, and international banking has to do a lot with trade and commodities, whether it's, gold or minerals, but also food, which happens to be the largest GDP of the United States. That's what we do the most of. About 4 years ago or so, I started a company called SoulCell, from New Jersey, actually, and it is an agricultural-based company. In other words, our focus is food, farming, the financial, and the biological implications of food. And we launched the CBD company right after that. It was in 2018, so that's when the Farm Bill passed. But it wasn't until 2020 that the USDA created the hemp program, the federal hemp program, and New Jersey didn't have one before. So we were growing in Vermont and sending out isolate to California and making all types of, nutraceutical types of topicals and tinctures and things like that. But in 2020, or actually the general counsel of our company, acquired the very first, and I say this boldly, and I challenge anyone to challenge us. We acquired the very first federal cannabis license in U.S. history as a hemp license. Hemp is cannabis. And so we went and did a bunch of things. That was 2020, January 2020, 34001. You can find me on LinkedIn, Dan Watkins, SoulCell, GreenCELL, Moody's, Reuters, NASDAQ, Navy SEALs, all that kind of stuff. It's my resume. And we were very focused as the cannabis market was, kind of skyrocketing in appeal. We saw that this undertone of the USDA and the FDA support and the DEA supporting CBD and hemp in a much bigger sphere. So we are in the cannabis industry, but we look at hemp as being not just textiles and 50,000 uses for it from a commercial perspective, but literally in all things that are food grade, which means things that you eat and things that you put on your body. We believe all of those things will have CBD or hemp in it. And that's kind of who I am. You can also find me as NJ Hemp Farmer on Facebook and Instagram, and biologist by education, a veteran, fourth generation combat vet, and now full-time urban farmer in New Jersey.
Well, I got to say, I love seeing your posts when you're out there in your zone farming, because I can see the passion behind what it is that you're doing, and the fact that you know that you're creating something with your team that can help people on the daily, right? Before we got on here, we were talking about the fact that you need to eat your vegetables as a human, right? I mean, it's one of the major food groups. We are taught this in elementary school, at least our age group was. Nowadays, we can barely get the kids to be taught cursive writing. But there's all these other things that they push on our kids without our permission as parents. So, yes, food. Let's get back to the real root. No pun intended here. Talk to me about what it is that you're doing. Like, have you figured out certain types of vegetable genetics that you might be creating something new out there in the marketplace? I'm just curious. I have a feeling that you could do something like this for some unknown reason.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think when I first got into it, I looked at three things. One is cannabis was a say, a denominator, a baseline of how I looked at a lot of things in food, because cannabis, especially in New Jersey, where it's very wet, and East Coast primarily, our medical cannabis business has really been focused around the same type of things that pharmaceuticals are: controlled environments, clean air, clean processes, SOPs, seed to sale to somebody's mouth, considered medicine. So New Jersey has a deficit in that space. And I'll show you a couple things and actually introduce you to someone that I'm working with. Part of the other things that I do is look for help infrastructure and entrepreneurs with women in business. But anyway, I looked at the indoor market and thought, okay, that's great, because now people can grow things indoors. Or I could be in Newark. I have an office in Newark, for example, where there's two companies. One is called Bowery Farms. I've heard of them. I think they have locations all over the place. Another one is Aero Farms. These are two companies that grow microgreens, sorry for that noise, and do about $20 million a year in microgreens from one location, 50,000, 75,000 square feet. So I'm looking at cannabis and I go, okay, you want that controlled environment to kind of get genetics, but what if you could just grow healthier, younger plants that go to someone's mouth in proximity to where they are in the market? What's the yield or the delta benefit? And the benefit is, the younger the plant, the more nutritious it is. The closer to the market that something is ripe, the more nutritious it is for the person. And so looking at diseases and cannabis and all these other things that are meant to treat you, the baseline ends up being, how healthy is the food you're eating? So, but that became expensive, right? Greenhouses, indoor. Why do that? I personally don't believe. I believe in global warming, and I think it's a great thing. I think that when the ice caps melt and the thawing of the last ice age melts, it means there's more fresh water, there's more food, there's more sunlight. But when you talk about things like climate change, again, whatever, the seas are not going to boil over. Otherwise, Miami would be closed down by now, right? But the CO2 in the air is a primary cause of a lot of the disease factors we have around the world: genetic, disease, cancer, and I say disease, even viral diseases. So growing plants outdoors helps to do things to lower climate change. So I've kind of shifted. In the first couple of years, we were all about indoor growing, greenhouses and microgreens, all this stuff. Still am, but now we have an integrated approach of doing things indoors that then go outdoors. Mm-hmm. So in a small environment, and maybe I'll show you the greenhouse another time, but in a small environment, let's say 1,800 square feet, right? Miss Bird over here, I can bring her in a second. She does strawberries. She does all types of veggies, right? What we're going to be doing is on some racks, doing the same kind of thing in that greenhouse, and then taking them out to our 150 acres of leases and grow thousands of plants every couple of weeks, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But so that's kind of what I look at, and not necessarily are there new genetics to go after. I think there's enough out there that just has to be better, right? For example, and you know this, you're a biology specialist and pharma and health and and patient advocacy. When you, as a farmer, who by the way is the poorest person in the world, is a farmer, whether they're the immigrant or the 70% of people who are on welfare in the country happen to be in suburbia, not in the urban areas, happen to be white as well, and they happen to actually live on farmland. They make no money because they're growing food and sending it off to the market. Now the market then packages it up, cleans it up, and presents it for 70 to 80% margin over the farmer. But the farmer also has another problem. Because they're outside of the market, they're dependent on buying, selling wholesale, and they have to pick their food unripened. So two things. One is, when the food is ripe and you pick it, it starts losing nutrients within 24 hours. So imagine picking it a week in advance. Now you have to, because you get a bunch of ripe tomatoes, put them in a big bucket, they're going to be spoiled and you lose the whole bunch. One rotten apple spoils the bunch, right? So it's understandable that farmers go through that. But Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, I should say, Bezos now, right, is making more on organic and faster delivery, and is very, very expensive compared to going to the farm. So bringing more nutritious food locally to the market. Someone like me, you can't do this in West Virginia necessarily, but me in Newark, New Jersey, I can serve millions of people fresh food. And I guess the last thing I'll say to that for everyone, as well as why I'm so passionate about it, is because the state and the federal government both provide easements, loans, grants, and incentives to replace the deficit. We have 10 million people in New Jersey. We have 10,000 farms. 9,000 of them are for housing. 1,000 of them are producing food, and they can only produce food 6 months out of the year. So 10 million people are buying food, unripened, raw food from out of state, from overseas. And so New Jersey, at least in my context, has to produce more food for its community. And there's incentives for farmers to do that.
That's one thing I miss. You know, I lived in the Bay Area for 5 years, and living in the Bay Area, we had access to a lot of different farm stands and farmers markets, like all during the week, on the weekend, so, you know, everywhere. And I live in Philly, you know, outside of Philly in the suburbs, and there's, you know, some farmers markets, but they're not like to what the extent is on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most annoying things that I have found being back here is the not being able to access things that I would want to eat that's real farm to fresh. Like I seek out those types of places to purchase my produce and my fruit and even my meat. You know, I try to live a very organic lifestyle, if you will, because I have 2 autoimmune diseases. And for me, food is essential for my survival. It's a whole mind body type thing. You know, a lot of people in the space, in the cannabis space and the CBD space think, well, the magic elixir is whatever tincture they're taking at the time or whatever strain it is that they want to talk about at that moment. But it's not that. It's about taking care of your body mentally, physically, what you eat, how you exercise. You know, I know you work out. It seems like almost every day, besides what you do for your career.
Maybe twice a month. Oh, well, every day during farming season. Yeah. Yes.
And, you know, I work out, you know, I don't have a farm, but I mean, I planted my own tomato plants this year, which is not something I normally do, but I'm sick of it. So like when I have a bigger place, because I'm looking to relocate in this area and buy another house that has more space, I'm looking to
come on over to Bird's Family Farm in Howell, New Jersey. Because what I want to mention before we go to the next part was you know, farms can't get food to people, right? We're just making it. We made a couple of jokes. I got show a couple of the farmers here. There's Rosemary and Liam down there, and we had some kombucha from
I love kombucha.
Yeah, well, we lost about 5 pounds since we drank the kombucha yesterday. But
it worked.
One of the things we weren't joking was, so we have so Rosemary has blueberries here at Bird's Family Farm, and you pick it. It's an hour for her to pick a thing of blueberries. It's just 3 pounds to pick. It takes about an hour to pick 3 pounds, right? So farmers are also dealt with that. They could be growing things, and they still have to pay somebody to come pick it.
That's right.
So the more that you can find farms that are growing things, get there, help them.
Yeah,
you know, work there.
My son and I could do that. When I was a little kid, I grew up in Chester County. And I'm still in Chester County now, and in Pennsylvania. And we had blueberry bushes in our backyard. And we had like 8 blueberry bushes. And my brother and I, you know, my mom would send us the frig out there in the 90-degree weather and 100 degrees picking these freaking blueberries. And it was so that she could bake and freeze them, et cetera, right? And when we were kids, we would, you know, I came up with the idea because I'm the oldest. That, you know, maybe we should pick some of the green ones and we can throw them at each other and play so that they don't turn purple, you know, or blue or whatever the hell you want to call the blueberry. And then it'll be less for us to pick. And
Yeah.
so we would do that. We'd be out there bombing, these green blueberries. I mean, we didn't ruin a bunch. I mean, come on, we were little kids. We were, 6, and 8 at the time. I mean, how much damage did we do? But I remember picking those blueberries and they're gone. They're not there anymore on my parents' property, which is really sad. We're selling the house. As a matter of fact, later today, I have to go pre-sign some documents for settlement, and because it's time. My dad died in 15. My mom's been living there by herself all this time. She can't maintain the property. I don't live over there, so it's time to sell. But I noticed our blueberry bushes were missing when I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, what the hell happened to the blueberry bushes? How did they die? It's just so odd.
Yeah. And that's a good segue to I'm not a big government person necessarily, but I am all about, my mom's a 50-year social worker, and there are tons of benefits from the government. So talking about the USDA, another reason why I got into cannabis I got into hemp, maybe because of cannabis, but because the USDA was behind it. There is an FSA, field service agency, in every region, every county, everywhere. And one of the other divisions of the FSA is a group called the NRCS, the National Resource Conservation Service. And they look at, do you have blueberries on your land? Do you have blackberries? Do you have a water source? You know how the city said you can't touch the water, it's wetlands,
Yeah.
and they'll sue you and all that stuff? Well, actually, if you contact the NRCS, they'll say, go right ahead, take the water out and use it to grow plants, because you're decreasing carbon dioxide. You're bringing fresh food to the air. The plants, like you're wearing cotton right now. I'm wearing cotton, some form of cotton. Cotton is responsible for 25% of the world's pesticides. And so a lot of people say, well, I don't eat cotton, but you eat kale, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so when you eat kale, your body doesn't digest it. The bacteria in your body digest kale, and the byproduct of that is where you get the benefits, sort of like yeast from beer, right? Now, if you think about that, and all the pesticides used, not just for cotton, but all over the place, are also in the same soil. The food we eat has pesticides in the water, in the ground, and it kills the bacteria in our body that breaks down things like kale. I met an herbalist 2 months ago. They're starting a new CBD store, and she's an herbalist. She's giving all these classes, and she tells me she suffers from, she lost a kidney. Now, how'd you lose a kidney? Well, she was sick from something else, and she ate all this kale, and the kale knocked out her kidney. What a lot of people don't realize is that the pesticides we talk about, and people talk about organic, but it really is in the entire environment, as well as the rain. And we all know those things. But, you go to the store, you say, I'm eating organic, and yeah, maybe organic, but still things in the environment are in our bodies, right? So we have to do more things like this. So this is an aeroponic tower that Rosemary Bird, a bird family farm, designed. And here's another beautiful thing is the microgreens. Okay, so just in this, I think we got mostly broccoli, but you could do pea shoots, you could do radish leaves, you could do sunflower starts, you could basically do any plant literally in the world, even a tree, and eat it as a baby. And so when you think about what's happening there, is there's no need for pesticides. The nutrition is enormous. And these trays, restaurants, food stores, maybe $50 a tray. Look at that rack. Probably do about 20 of those a week at $50 in your bedroom. It only takes to grow baby spinach, baby arugula, baby kale. Sometimes it takes people 10 days. Other people can do it in 7 days. It depends on the genetics too. But these are all types of things that we're focused on. And I guess maybe I'll just wrap up real quick. My CBD is also focused on that same mentality. It's not about the best flower. Yeah, we got flowers, about all the organic, but it's also about using all the herbal essences that we can. So this is chlorophyll, cold press, extract, hemp seed oil, rosemary, and oregano. And that's our focus in the CBD world, is to incorporate healthier food, stronger herbs, more natural, pressed, greener things that you can take this as a tincture. You can put it on a bee sting, or you can dip it in your olive oil and have it every day for food.
Well, that is awesome. And thank you so much for showing the product today. And thank you for being on the show as well. I really appreciate having you on and learning about all the awesome things that you're doing. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
All right. Hope to see you soon.
I'm sure you will. So with that, as we always say and how we always end every single one of our episodes, remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you.